Yes, I know the Game Awards nominees were just announced. I don't care what Variety and the LA Times and Newsweek think are the best video games of the year. I thought people didn't like video game websites to begin with anyways, but now all of a sudden we care when the Game Awards happens. Like, I don't care. I don't care. The announcements I'll be interested in. What actually wins does not matter to me. So we're not talking about that today. We're talking about Call of Duty because it seems like it's finally happened. Not a full-on death blow to the Call of Duty franchise, but holy hell, this game, the latest Call of Duty entry, Black Ops 7, has launched, and people are not liking it. And this isn't like your normal Call of Duty, oh, you know, I don't like this, that, or the other thing about it. People don't like all aspects of it, to the point of where the game is not even selling all that well, and people have already abandoned the game. So I want to talk about Call of Duty, kind of what's going on with this, and what this kind of means for the future, because you got to remember, Microsoft owns this now. This is a big property for them. This is what they were banking on, driving up Game Pass subscription sales. And if the game isn't doing all that well, what does that mean? Also, stick around to the end of the video. I went to a wrestling show and got to meet some legends, get some things signed, so I'll talk about that very briefly. Also, sign up for Whatnot. There's something on Whatnot that I want to buy, and when you sign up for Whatnot and use my link in the description box down below, you get free money, and then when you spend that free money, they give me free money. And I don't want to pay the full price for this thing. Yes, it's a collectible action figure, you know, sue me or whatever. So sign up using my link so that I can get some savings on this. But let's talk about Call of Duty. Hit subscribe if you are new. So, the Black Ops 7 beta, I played it. And I played it with Spawnwave, I played it with Nate the Hate, and I played it with MVG. And honestly, I wasn't thrilled with it. Like, I think my main issue with the beta was just the fact of like how the gameplay works and what they've done to kind of differentiate it from other Call of Duty games. Now, obviously, Call of Duty has spanned across many different sorts of dimensions of time. That's, you know, it used to be a World War II shooter, World Wars, all that sort of stuff, Vietnam War, different stuff like that. But recently, it's been a little bit more modern, sometimes even to the point of futuristic. And when they showed off trailers for this game, it definitely looked a lot more futuristic than it actually ended up being, in my opinion. It's sort of a near future thing. So you have some stuff like these robot dogs that, you know, obviously I don't really see many of those in wars going on right now that will probably be utilized within the next 15 to 20 years. But it also feels like the guns themselves are more so rooted in reality. But then there's like a couple guns that are like more futuristic stuff. It just feels like a weird hybrid of like current day stuff and then futuristic stuff. And I don't necessarily, to me at least, I didn't think that worked. Because if you want to go futuristic and be all crazy and have all this crazy stuff, like, just do that. You have done things like that before. If you want to be more rooted in reality, just do that. You've done that plenty of times before, but this sort of weird middle ground just didn't really work for me because it just made the gameplay feel kind of boring and kind of stagnant as far as what you could do. You can't really do anything super crazy, but you also can't really do anything super realistic. Just an identity crisis for me on that side of things. And then, of course, you have the single-player campaign. So let's talk about the single-player campaign, and we'll talk a little bit more about the multiplayer, and then we'll talk about, like, why this isn't going well. Because the single-player campaign has been getting crucified online. It's about 4 hours long, which I don't play Call of Duty campaigns. I played one of them, and it was, like, 3.5 hours long, and the ending sucked. It was, like, one from, like, 2 or 3 years ago. But I didn't like it. But this one seems to have more fundamental problems beyond just like a big like kaiju giant thing that you have to fight because, you know, Call of Duty, that definitely screams Call of Duty. But beyond that, it's problems with the actual game itself. The single-player campaign is more so focused on multiplayer. You're supposed to play it with other people. And if you're not playing it with other people and you're playing it single, you don't get any of the things that you normally get in a single-player experience, such as being able to pause the game because it's an always online single player experience. So you can't pause the game, you can't do anything like that, even if you're playing by yourself. Your character will shout out commands to teammates that don't exist. They don't give you any AI teammates to kind of make up for it. So you're kind of just like having a psychological discussion in your head by yourself while you're on this battlefield doing bizarre things like fighting a giant thing, like, you know, time dimensions and stuff like that. It's like, that's not like super realistic, but that's also, you know, not too far into the realm of fantasy to where you're going to really attract people like that. I think that's one of the biggest problems with this, is that, you know, the lack of checkpoints and saves and stuff like that. You have to do the whole level at once. And, you know, I get it. If you're playing a game, you want to play a good portion of it. But if something comes up and you literally can't pause the game, like, this isn't a game like Elden Ring or something like that. Like Elden Ring, I can kind of understand it more so. This is just a generic military shooter. And then the online stuff hasn't been going very well. People are already starting to hack into it and stuff. Of course, there is no new Battle Royale mode, you know, all the stuff that they do with that. The free portion of Call of Duty has not been updated yet. And RedSec from Battlefield 6 has definitely been eating a lot of Call of Duty's cake when it comes to that. But you got to look at the players that are playing Call of Duty right now, or the lack thereof, I should say. So obviously we only have Steam charts to kind of go on with this, but this is current at time of filming of this video. It's 11 a.m. Eastern time on Monday. So here are some of the top games. Concurrent players of Counter-Strike 2. That's just ridiculous. Dota, PUBG, but I mean, there's Battlefield 6. You know, 154,000 people playing, 299,000 concurrent for the peak of today. Obviously, you know, you could do other sorts of metrics for like all time and stuff like that. But where's Call of Duty? Where's okay. So Call of Duty is doing worse than Grand Theft Auto 5 Legacy, Wallpaper Engine, Bongo Cat, Delta Force, Apex. It's doing worse than Apex. It had a higher player count in the past 24 hours than Call of Duty had. And you got to remember, this is the Call of Duty launcher. So like this encompasses all of that stuff. Yes, I was born in 1959. But like, people are not liking this game. It's not a fun game for them. They're not enjoying just how kind of weird everything is with this. You know, it's a launcher. It makes you install more games. Of course, that's a whole thing that's been going on with it. 70 gigs of updates every 2 weeks. You know, people are just not happy with this game. And obviously, you know, some of these people are basing it, like, I don't think this person played 108 or 109 roughly hours of the new Call of Duty game. You know, it just came up, but you never know. Like, these people are kind of crazy when it comes to stuff like that. And obviously, you know, there are people that are going to like it, but when you look at the general consensus online, people are not enjoying it. And the main thing is, the game isn't getting a large player base. This is way below any other launch of a Call of Duty game, as far as players, as far as people playing the game and people buying the game on Steam. Obviously on consoles, you know, you have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to stuff like that. But are people really going to put down Battlefield to play Call of Duty? I think some will. Like, obviously there are Call of Duty diehards, but you're trying to get that casual audience. You know, that's why you bought Activision Blizzard, because you wanted Call of Duty in Game Pass, because you thought it was going to light the world on fire, but it's not. People are genuinely not enjoying the gameplay experience. They're not enjoying things within the game. They don't enjoy the campaign. The multiplayer feels kind of stagnant and like, we've done this before. Nothing's really changed for the better. If anything, some things have gotten worse. And when you're Microsoft or Xbox looking at this, and this was such a large investment for you, you got to be a little worried right now. You've got to be, you got to be puckering your butthole quite a bit at seeing these Steam numbers for your flagship title, your biggest game, your cash cow, because it seems like releasing a Call of Duty every single year, you've kind of milked it dry. You know, this isn't a sports game where you could throw on a new roster and then people will be interested in it. This isn't a wrestling game where you can add more characters and stuff like that to where people will be interested in it. This is a first-person shooter with a strong online multiplayer component. And it seems like the people that have played Call of Duty for a very long time, aka me, I was out there on the Call of Duty 2 battlefields on the Xbox 360. Come see me at Carenton. I'll snipe your head off. No. But I will. People are just tired of it, man. It's the same old, same old. It's the same old sort of song and dance with this. And you didn't do anything to really improve things or really make things better or take that leap with Call of Duty and spice things up. You instead went for a semi-futuristic thing that's not futuristic enough, but it's not realistic enough. And you ruined the single-player campaign for the people that enjoy the single-player campaign by making it an always online thing. This could end up being a bit of a downfall for Call of Duty. Now, I don't think that the franchise is going to completely die or anything like that. Like, people are still playing other Call of Duty games, you know? So it's something that, obviously, it's not going to sink Call of Duty, but I think it might be a reality check. I think it might be a bit of a wake-up call that, hey, this isn't working anymore. People are tired of the same old with this. People are tired of Call of Duty just being this stagnant, bizarre thing, trying to go all sorts of crazy and stuff like that. Like, why does World at War still have the best, like, physics as far as, like, being able to, like, blow people's limbs off and stuff like that? Like, when did we become so sanitary with this and just so, you know, scared to kind of push a little bit of an envelope? Now, like, the shock factor doesn't come from a genuine place. It comes from trying to, you know, do another No Russian because that's what people remember. But you didn't do that for a shock factor. You did that for a story value. You did that to make the player think and make the player feel. Now you just want to emulate that again. And it's like, it's not working. You got to do something different here, Call of Duty. You got to do something different. But those are my thoughts on Call of Duty. So if you're here just for the COD portion, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Did you pick up the new Call of Duty? If so, how are you enjoying it? I mean, it's on Game Pass, so I might check it out, but like I don't feel inclined to. Like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. If anything, I feel like I'm protecting my sanity. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video for the gaming portion. Now, I do want to talk very briefly about my experience at a wrestling show yesterday. Me and Rax the Great went to a wrestling show. There were some legends there that I was very excited to meet. Some other people that I am aware of as well. There was a meet and greet session. There was some food, some concessions. There was a nice barbecue beef sandwich, and they put cheese on it. I really enjoyed it. And then there was a wrestling portion, and the wrestling was actually really good. There were some old WWE guys there, such as Dijak, Sidney Akeem, Killer Cross was in the main event. So definitely some marquee talent, and like that building was sold out. But like I said, I did get some autographs. I met Brian Myers. I've talked to him several times on Facebook. I actually gave him a copy of the book because he wanted one of these. Super nice guy, TNA wrestler, obviously, big figure collector. So I know him from the Major Wrestling Figure podcast group. But super cool to meet him. Definitely a good time. And then the legends. Now, this was my main thing. This is why I wanted to go. The Mountie. Now, the Mountie beat Bret Hart for the Intercontinental Champion. The Mountie actually pinned Hulk Hogan as well. So I was super stoked to meet the Mountie. We took some pictures. He was like, do you want to do a funny picture or a serious one? And I was like, dealer's choice. He was like, you look like a funny guy. And I was like, all right, we'll do funny. But super cool to meet him. He actually got involved in the wrestling portion. He was a manager for one of the teams. And so he was like ringside the whole time. We were second row, but he was ringside the whole time. But somebody came out and scared off the Mountie, and that man is my new Facebook profile picture. Jacob the Snake-Up Roberts. I did ask him about the snake pit session where he DDT'd Hogan, and what did the crowd really go that mental? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I hope they find that footage and put it on the vault. But Jake the Snake came out during that match because the Mountie was getting involved. and they had an assistant bring out like this big python, and he kind of walked around the ring chasing the Mountie. It was just so cool, man. Like it's so dope, like meeting people that kind of changed your childhood or were like such an important part of your childhood and of your youth. I definitely had an absolute blast. The wrestling was actually top notch. The opening match was a title match, and like these two dudes, they went all out. Like they there was no half-assing it during this show, which I really appreciated. So I'm actually going to try to work with them in the future, maybe do some promo stuff, maybe try and get involved, help them grow, because they're obviously in the state that I live in, and I like to see stuff like that pop up. So yeah, it was an awesome show. Super fun time. I'll overlay the video I took of Jake coming out with the snake and stuff like that. I'll probably mute it because they played his theme song, but it's super fun time. So yeah, sign up for my whatnot so I can buy more wrestling action figures. Goodbye.